The healer house began its morning like any other. Sunlight poured into the yard, Bluey and Bingo were getting ready to play outside, and Bandit and Chili bustled in the kitchen. The familiar scent of joy and freshness hung in the air. Yet, even then something was off. A subtle shadow flickered behind the bushes in the backyard, too tall to be a neighbor's child, too still to be merely a tree's shade. Bluey stepped into the yard and started playing with her ball. Each time the ball rolled towards the far fence, she felt a gaze upon her. She sensed someone behind the old half-ruined garden shed. She threw the ball harder, and for a fleeting moment she saw it. A tall, slender figure stood absolutely motionless. It resembled a dog but had no face, just a smooth dark surface that seemed to absorb the light. Bluey blinked and the figure was gone. She tried to tell Bandit, but he was too busy playing chasey with Bingo. "Just shadows playing with you, Bluey," he chuckled. Bluey tried to forget, but now, wherever she went, she felt his presence. In the kitchen window, as Chili cooked breakfast, his reflection flickered. Behind the tree at the playground, swinging on the swings, he was always there if she didn't look directly. The house began to change. The bright colors faded, the air grew heavy and cold. Toys weren't left where they belonged. At night, Bluey heard a faint scratching sound from within the walls, as if something was slowly crawling through the wires. And in the morning, new drawings appeared on the fridge. Strange, childlike scribbles depicting the healer family, but always with this tall, faceless figure standing nearby amidst their games and laughter. One day, Bluey and Bingo were playing in their room when the lights suddenly went out. From the darkness came a very soft, drawn-out whisper like rustling leaves, but uttering their names. It came from everywhere and nowhere. Bingo began to cry and the lights flickered back on, but the room was different. Bingo's toys were scattered, and among them stood one Bluey had never seen before. A tall, thin, faceless doll looking exactly like the observer. The doll didn't move, but its presence was overwhelming. Bluey took Bingo's paw. They slowly backed out of the room. Behind them, the doll slowly tilted its head, then its empty head turned and fixed itself on the exact spot where they had been standing. The house plunged into a suffocating silence. The episode ended with the family huddled together in the living room. They tried to laugh and play as usual, but their laughter was strained, and their eyes constantly darted around the room, searching for something that might be hiding in any shadow. Outside the window just beyond the glass, he stood, tall, silent, faceless. He simply watched, and now his silhouette was far clearer than ever before. The screen slowly faded to black, leaving only a ringing silence. Late evening at the healer house. The rain outside has stopped, with only occasional drops falling from the roof. Bluey can't sleep. She quietly gets out of bed, her paws softly patting on the rug. An eerie silence hangs in the house, broken only by the faint creaking of the old wooden floorboards. In the hallway, Bluey freezes. A tall, unnatural figure looms in the dim light. A wooden body, angular limbs. On a disproportionately large head are enormous, unmoving eyes staring into the void. A wide, frightening grin is fixed on its wooden face. In one wooden hand, the figure clutches an elongated object, resembling a baseball bat dragging its handle along the floor. Bluey's heart pounds with terror. She tries to call for Mum or Dad, but her voice seems to catch in her throat, unable to escape. The wooden head slowly turns, and the empty black pupils of its huge eyes lock onto her, piercing the darkness. A quiet scraping sound echoes, as if two dry pieces of wood are rubbing against each other. The figure begins to move slowly, jerkily towards the frozen Bluey, dragging the heavy bat which thuds dully against the floor. Bluey backs away, pressing herself against the wall. She tries to breathe, but the air feels thick in her lungs. The wooden figure approaches, and now Bluey can see every crack on its wooden face, every jagged edge of its fixed smile. The scent of old wood and dampness emanates from it. The figure stops directly in front of Bluey, towering over her with its unnatural height. From its unmoving lips comes a strange guttural sound, devoid of any inflection. Tongue. Sahur. Bluey flinches and recoils, feeling an icy dread grip her entire body. The wooden hand slowly raises the bat, its shadow sliding ominously across the wall. At that moment, a sleepy Bingo appears in the hallway, rubbing her eyes groggily with her paws. She looks at the strange wooden guest with confusion. "Bluey, who's that?" she whispers, yawning. The wooden figure slowly turns its enormous empty eyes towards little Bingo and repeats the strange incantation. Tongue. Sahur. Suddenly, the light in the hallway begins to flicker, casting jerky shadows on the walls. A persistent, monotonous rhythm echoes throughout the house, like the dull thudding of a wooden bat against the floor. Tongue, tongue, tongue. Mum and Dad sleep soundly, oblivious to the unfolding nightmare. It seems that only the frightened Bluey and Bingo can hear and see this terrifying night visitor and the growing ominous noise. The wooden figure takes a slow, creaking step towards Bingo, its wooden legs making a chilling scraping sound on the floor. Bluey, gathering the last of her courage, lunges forward, trying to shield her sister with her body. The wooden figure raises the bat high above little Bingo's head. At that moment, the image momentarily distorts. The colors fade and the outlines blur, as if one's vision is losing focus from sheer terror. The final scene shows the dark, empty hallway. Only the monotonous rhythmic thudding like the sound of a wooden bat echoes in the silence, and a quiet, sinister whisper repeating the strange words, tongue, sahur. Then a complete oppressive silence descends. The screen slowly fades to absolute black. It was a typical rainy day at the Healer house. The rain drummed against the roof, keeping Bluey and Bingo from playing outside. Bingo sat drawing in her room while a bored Bluey wandered through the house. Suddenly, she stopped in the middle of the living room. From beneath the old wooden floorboards covered by a rug came a faint scratching sound. Bluey knelt down and listened closely. The sound came again, this time with a soft tapping, as if someone was gently scratching the wood from inside. "Hello," Bluey whispered. In response, a barely audible but distinct whisper echoed back, seemingly from the very depths of the house. The words were unintelligible, but the tone was soft and comforting. Bluey smiled. She had a new friend. She began spending more and more time on the floor, pressing her ear to the boards. Her parents noticed. "What are you playing, Bluey?" Chili would ask, seeing her daughter whisper to an unseen companion. "I'm playing with my friend under the floor," Bluey would happily reply. Bandit and Chili exchanged glances but chalked it up to childish imagination, glad that Bluey had found something to occupy herself. As the days passed, Bluey's behavior grew stranger. She stopped paying attention to Bingo, ignored calls for dinner, at times even refusing her favorite games. Her entire world narrowed to her conversations with the friend under the floor. She'd whisper secrets to it, laugh at its very funny jokes, as she called them, even though Bandit and Chili heard nothing. At night, Chili began hearing strange sounds. Quiet, persistent rustles, creaks, and taps coming from beneath the floor of the children's room. Sometimes she thought she could faintly hear a dry, hushed chuckle that chilled her to the bone. She mentioned it to Bandit, but he assured her it was just an old house or her own tiredness. One day, Bandit found Bluey trying to pull up the edge of the rug in the living room. Her little paws frantically clawed at the edges. "What are you doing, sweetie?" he asked. Bluey turned around. Her eyes, usually full of mischievous sparkle, were cloudy and vacant. "My friend wants to come out and play," she whispered, her smile strangely forced. A chill ran down Bandit's spine. He led Bluey away from the rug. Later that night, when everyone was asleep, Bandit quietly went to the spot where Bluey had spent so much time. He carefully lifted a corner of the rug. Beneath it were old, darkened floorboards, nothing out of the ordinary. But as he leaned closer, he felt an icy draft, smelling of dampness and something putrid. And then he heard it, a quiet, raspy whisper coming from somewhere beneath the house. It wasn't Bluey's voice, and it wasn't comforting. It was filled with malice and hunger. Bandit immediately dropped the rug, his heart pounding. The next morning, Bluey was quiet, almost silent. She wasn't running or jumping. She just sat on the floor, her ear pressed to the boards, humming a faint, unfamiliar tune. When Chili called her for breakfast, Bluey didn't stir. Bandit approached to pick her up, but when he touched her shoulder, Bluey jolted sharply and looked back. Her eyes were completely black, devoid of pupils, and they reflected a grotesque, predatory grin that twisted her snout. "He's very hungry," a voice rasped, utterly unlike Bluey's. Chili screamed. The camera slowly pulls away from Bluey, lying on the floor as she continues to hum monotonously. From beneath the floor, a louder wet scratching grows, punctuated by slurping sounds that echo throughout the Healer house. The sounds grow in intensity, then abruptly cease. There's a lost Bluey episode that's barely spoken of. They call it The Hole in the Floor. Some say it aired once late at night, then vanished without a trace. The episode starts with Bluey and Bingo playing in the living room. The day feels strange. The sky outside is heavy with thick gray clouds. Everything is quiet, too quiet. As they chase each other around, Bluey trips. Her paw hits the wooden floor, and it sounds hollow. Curious, they pull up the small rug. Beneath it, a hole. Perfectly round. Too perfect. Just wide enough for a child to fall through. They lean over it. It's pitch black inside. No bottom, no smell. Just cold, damp air rising up. Bingo whispers, "Do you hear it?" Bluey listens. At first, nothing. Then, faint voices. Far away, calling, crying, laughing. Familiar voices. It sounds like their own family, but wrong, echoing strangely as if trapped down there. Bingo reaches out her paw, almost hypnotized. Bluey grabs her. They cover the hole again, but that night the voices come back, louder, clearer. Bluey hears Bandit calling her from downstairs, but when she checks, Bandit is asleep. Bingo says she dreams of falling, deeper and deeper, through endless tunnels. The next day the hole is bigger, the rug no longer covers it completely, and now, small objects start disappearing around the house. Toys, books, even their shoes. Bluey swears she sees hands, pale and long, reaching up at night, trying to pull things down. She tells her parents, but Bandit just laughs awkwardly. Chili says old houses settle sometimes. But that night, Bluey wakes to the sound of someone whispering her name, software gentle, from under the floor. She sees Bingo standing by the hole, staring down, listening. Bluey rushes over, pulling her away. But Bingo doesn't resist, she just murmurs, "They sound so lonely." The final scene shows the house at dawn, silent, empty. The camera moves slowly through the rooms. The hole is now massive, consuming most of the living room floor. In the center and the faint outlines of toys, drawings, and tiny paw prints, sliding into the darkness. The screen fades to black. No music, no laughter. Only the soft, endless whisper of voices, still calling from the void.